Welcome back to the David Kurten Show here on today's News Talk TNT. And it is fantastic to have with me Andreas Michli, who is an independent candidate in the London Mayor elections 2024. Andreas, welcome to the show.
Morning, David, and thank you very much for having me on this show.
No, great to have you on the show. I first met you when I was actually with TNT in central London covering the Julian Assange trial. And you were there, and you were the only mayoral candidate for London who was actually there at the time, protesting and standing up for Julian Assange and protesting against the injustice that's happened to him. Is that something that you've been following for a long time?
I think anyone who's sort of real about freedom will be following that because, whatever your opinions are on Julian Assange and the case itself, it has a very significant importance to freedom in general, freedom of speech, freedom of press. So I think anyone who's serious about, has a serious mindset to those issues would be there supporting.
Absolutely. And you've taken a stand for freedom yourself, particularly in the lockdowns. Now, I understand that you're a business owner, a gym owner, but you were hassled by the law, weren't you? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I had quite a long ongoing battle with the local council, central government, metropolitan police, you name it. They were all after me, all persecuting me, prosecuting me. The court cases went on for a couple of years. Lockdown 1, 2, and 3, I was prosecuted for all of the lockdowns for keeping my gym open. And I eventually won those court cases. And then they had to pay me my legal costs for those court cases. So
that's fantastic. So you stood up to them. You said, I do not consent. I will not comply. They came after you, but then you won, and that's amazing. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few. Sorry to interrupt. There was a few gyms up and down the country doing it, but a lot of them were sort of doing it undercover. My stand was very public and open. I'm not closing. I am against this agenda. I'm fully for freedom. And yeah, fantastic. In the end, it paid off.
That's great, as it should do. And the thing here is that you've got the police and the courts, and they drag you through the process. It's like the punishment is the process because, at the end of the day, some of these people know that these laws, these statutes are repugnant to our common law, to our fundamental freedoms, but they cause hassle for you for as long as they want. And, that's how was it, for those 2 years when you were actually fighting for your freedom?
I think you're right in saying the punishment is the process because at the end of the day, I was never fearful of any type of whatever they wanted to sort of, the end result they wanted to achieve by prosecuting me. I was never fearful of that in any way because I live by the words, you have to be right to fight. You can't be wrong and strong. Those words right there, it's like ingrained in my ethos. So for me, I was never fearful of the end result. But you're right, it is a very tedious and sort of stressful process dragging you through it. But like I said, you have to be right to fight. You can't be wrong and strong, and stuck to my guns and fought it through.
Absolutely. I mean, well, that is an example to everybody who wants to stand up for freedom because you fought the system, you fought everyone coming against you, and you won. And that is a great, story there that everyone can look to and hold up some hope that you've done that and you've gone before them to stand up for our freedoms. But, what I want to talk to you more about mostly is your bid to become London mayor. So your campaign motto is make London strong. So why have you chosen that motto and what does that mean?
I guess you could, a lot of people probably think it's something to do with gym. And you could say partly, a very small part of it is to do with that, but it's more in every area. I want to make London strong in every single area of policy, every single area that affects people in general. Like our police force is weak. I want to make our police force strong. The housing that we're building is weak. These new builds are going up and they're getting knocked down 20, 30 years later, and for new builds to go up again, they're weak. I want to make our housing strong with original British aesthetics. Some of our Victorian builds, they've withstood the test of time. They've been around for hundreds of years. I want to bring back that strength. It's in every area. I want to make London strong.
Well, I totally agree with you with buildings because you go through any area of London, you come in from the north, the south, the east, the west, and there's all these horrible tower blocks that have gone up, but they don't look like they've been built very well. They're just there to make somebody the maximum amount of money from, putting up some horrible, ugly carbuncle. And I feel sorry for the people who have to live in these places because they are marketed as luxury flats, but I would never want to go anywhere near one of these places and live in them.
Exactly. I mean,
Um,
some of these blocks, they look like prison cell blocks. You wouldn't want to raise your family in there. It really is just it's an investment opportunity for the cronies of City Hall to make some money. And then in another 20, 30 years, when they get knocked down and they rebuild them again, these developers will make the money again.
mm, that seems like the game plan, doesn't it? No, obviously we've had Sadiq Khan has been the mayor for the last 8 years. I know him very well because I was on the London Assembly myself and I questioned him about a lot of the things that he did. Um, how would you be a better mayor than Sadiq Khan?
I think in about almost every humanly way possible. If I was to count on one hand the positive things he's done, I might be able to raise one or two fingers.
Hmm.
That's about it. Everything else, I think, honestly, I will do absolutely everything better than what he's done.
Well, I think a lot of people would raise one or two fingers to Sadiq Khan. That's very well said.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, what do absolutely. But obviously, the mayor is in charge of police and crime. That's a big issue. People feel that London is no longer a safe city. When I first went to London in the 90s, it was known as one of the safest and most pleasant metropolitan areas in the world, large metropolitan areas. It's not like that anymore. But you've got a whole plan for policing. You call it Operation Brennan. Can you tell us about that and how you will improve policing and cut down on crime?
Yeah, so Operation Brennan is specifically targeted at knife crime because, as you know, it's one of the most pressing and serious issues we're facing right now in London. We have children dying on an almost weekly basis. Parents are burying their children. It's a very serious issue, and it is being completely ignored. And he's just almost Little Man Khan is almost effectively saying he doesn't care. He pretty much said that he's ignoring it. His answer to everything is just to pretend it doesn't exist and then throw a bit of chump change at the issue. He's saying at the moment he's going to throw a bit of cash towards the Metropolitan Police. That's his answer to everything. There's no specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-related targets and goals to actually solving it. And I believe none of the other mayoral candidates have even done that either. They're all just highlighting a problem here or there, but no one's actually coming forward with a plan. So this is my plan. Operation Brennan is my plan. And you probably recognize the name. Brennan is Officer Norman Brennan. So yeah, he was one of the main sort of people I consulted in formulating this plan. It's a short-term, a medium-term, and a long-term element to it. Because as you know, dealing with this issue, it's not gonna be dealt with overnight. This is gonna take quite some time to fully address the issue. So the short-term element basically is to lay the law, the hammer of law down on the issue and to stop the death. That's the first thing we need to get a grip on. Stop the children dying, stop deaths, preserve life. The medium-term element is basically to sort of integrate the police back into the communities because we've lost that sort of trust with the police. We've lost that engagement with the police. And the long-term plan is basically to address the more deep-rooted cultural issues surrounding knife crime. Because some of these things, the cultural issues, they're going to take a very long time to deal with. And that long-term element, I'd say, is good. We're going to start seeing the results within 5+ years. The medium term, we're going to see the results within around 3 years. And the short-term element, we want to see results immediately. Within 1 year, we want to stop the deaths.
I mean, you talk about stop and search, and that's been something that both Labour people like Sadiq Khan and even, what I call fake conservatives like Theresa May when she was in power have said, oh, we can't do stop and search because it's racist, which I think is ridiculous because, everyone everywhere in London says, well, stop and search is a good thing because it gets knives off kids in gangs who would otherwise kill each other. What do you think of
100%. You
that?
know, I
Yeah.
mean, anyone that says stop and search is racist, we could talk about that issue all day long. But stop and search is a tool against knife crime. It's a very useful tool. It's not the only tool, but it is a very useful tool. We can't remove that tool from our arsenal. If we're trying to stop deaths, we have to use that tool. And but it is, like I said, it is a useful tool, but not the only tool. But one way I'm sort of hoping that this is something which none of the mayors have ever done, is I'll engage with the community about this particular issue. So what I'll do is I'll hold a local referendum in each borough immediately on day one. So if you want stop and search powers ramped up, extra stop and search powers, you'll vote yes. If you don't want them, you'll vote no. All normal police activity will still, happen. You'll still get the usual police powers operating within your area, but those stop and search powers, you will have the right to vote for them. It's your choice. Yeah. And I know, I'm a parent myself. I know parents, they don't want their children to die, so they will, they in certain boroughs they will vote yes. We've got areas like Croydon and Lewisham. Lambeth, more areas that even the borough where I live, Harringay, knife crime is a serious issue there. I'm fully, certain that people will vote yes in those boroughs. If we look at the more outer London boroughs, we've got like Hillingdon, Havering, for example, knife crime isn't so much of an issue in those areas. I'd expect people to vote no.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Well said. I mean, I do think that is a useful tool for police to have. But the other big thing that the London mayor is in charge of is transport. So you have total jurisdiction over transport for London. What are your main policies in the area of transport?
I think one of the biggest pressing issues at the moment is the way Little Man Khan is infringing on our rights to travel. Like right now, I'm sitting on Finchley Road in my campaign tour bus. This is called a public highway. I have every right to use this public highway without fine or charge. Nobody owns these roads. These are public highways. And what he's effectively trying to do is to charge everyone for driving on public highways. You're probably well aware of Project Detroit and the way he's evolving ULEZ into this new paper mile scheme. He's literally plummeting us down to the ground. We're heading towards modern day slavery is what's happening with that. So what I intend to do is literally just free up our roads again. This war on every area of our freedom, at the moment, we're specifically talking about travel and motorists at the moment. This war on our freedom has to end. And I'll abolish congestion charge. I'll abolish the LEZ, the ULEZ, and this ridiculous new paper mile scheme that he's been working on for the last few years. The whole thing will be abolished, and I'll remove the infrastructure that was created to impose it. All the cameras, they're coming down and they're getting auctioned off, and the money will be invested straight back into TfL.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, a lot of people hate these ideas of ULEZ, which is a charge, £12.50 to drive into London with an older vehicle, the congestion charge. Everyone has to pay £12 to drive in central London. I hate this idea of pay per mile Big Brother road pricing, because everyone will have to have a box in their car which will be monitored completely continuously, and then the charges will be taken straight out of your bank account. I mean, this really is a dreadful surveillance kind of society that they want to create. Look, I need to ask you one final question. I've only got a minute left. There's no mention in your manifesto of immigration. What's your view of immigration and how it relates to the economy and how it relates to housing? And if you could answer that quickly, that would be great.
There's a reason and it's not in there, and I'm sure you're aware. Obviously, City Hall powers there's a limit to those powers, and obviously immigration doesn't fall within the scope of their power. But I could give you my views on them for certain. Obviously, it's not something that the Mayor of London will be able to sort of have an effect on, but maybe more so an influence. With regards to immigration at the moment, I feel we've got a massive sort of influx of immigrants coming into the country, and a lot of it is legal immigration, but they're trying to highlight the fact that the central government, they're highlighting sort of illegal immigration to take the focus off the legal immigration crisis we have at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair enough, because I do like.
We are letting far too many people in.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think that that does have an effect and an impact on housing and also the economy as like cheap labor comes in,
Yep,
and that's dampens job opportunities for local people. But it isn't something that the mayor has any charge on over. So that's a very good answer. Look, Andreas, we're nearly at 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Sorry. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It'd be great to have you back on to talk more because there's so many policies you have. But all the best in your
yep.
campaign for the London elections on the 2nd of May. Thank you for coming on. This is today's News Talk, TNT.